يفنى الكل ويبقاه ليس الباقي إلا هو الله 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 ما لي رب إلا هو.
Over the last 2 or 3 weeks, we have been talking about a topic and a discussion that is very vast, but one that I think jolts us awake from our sleeps. The khab-e khargosh that we are sleeping in this heedlessness and carelessness, and in this reckless way that many of us live. I think our discussions over the last few weeks would have definitely awakened our innermost feelings to understand what is our own condition, where we stand, on which bridge of life are we standing, and whether we are stagnant or we are moving positively or we are falling behind negatively. We talked about all those things that cause man depression, and I said to you over the last 2 weeks that this is the biggest bimari right now. This is the biggest illness now, which we call depression. Every second person is depressed. I reminded you, we talked about it last week. Every second person is on antidepressants. Every second, every third person has got some kind of problem. And I said this before, that our forefathers earned not even 10% of what we earn. They had 10 more children than what you and I had, but they were still in sukoon. You ever heard of them taking antidepressants? You ever heard them telling you that I have depression? You ever heard them saying that they have this musibat and that musibat? No, very seldom. Do you know why? Because number one, when they had any problem, they caught the musalla. Firstly, chahe unpad the bahut se, many of them were not educated, but they knew that if you want to remove the problems and the calamities in your life, then stand before your Creator Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They knew that there, and they knew that the best way to present myself in the court of my Rabb is through my Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They knew this, okay? And they had one thing which very few people I see today have. I may be wrong, but when you interact with people the way that we do, they had something that I think very few of us have today, and that is called yaqeen. What is that called? Yaqeen. In other words, true faith and confidence. And with that they had one other thing, and that is called contentment. They were content. They were happy, in inverted commas, in the words that you and I use. They were not chasing the dunya. They were not chasing the dunya. We chase the dunya so much that the dunya runs further. You can never catch it. Ask all who chase the dunya. I'm telling you, even if I chase or you chase, we chase for our necessities. You can be a millionaire, you can be a billionaire, but you feel the chase never ends. Why? Because Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that except the sand of a man's grave, nothing else will fill his stomach. कब्र की मिट्टी के अलावा बनी आदम की पेट को कोई और चीज़ भर नहीं सकता. Nothing, because enough is never enough. Ne? Let's be honest, we have to be honest about this discussion. So we are so busy chasing the dunya, we forget that there were people that were called awliya. We forget there was somebody that was called Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani al-Baghdadi. We forgot that there was somebody called Sultanul Hind Khaja Khajagan Khaja Muinuddin Chishti Ajmeri Sanjari radiallahu ta'ala. We forgot that there was somebody called Hazrat Sayyidina Baba Fariduddin Ganj Shakkar radiallahu ta'ala. We forgot that there was somebody called Shah Ahmad Rifai Awliya Kabira radiallahu ta'ala. We forgot that there was Hazrat Sayyidina Bahauddin Naqshbandi radiallahu anhu. We forgot there was Ala Hazrat Adimul Barakat Imam Ahl Sunnat radiallahu anhu. And all these Buzurgan-e-Deen. We forgot, because if we remembered, we would have known by now that they never chased the dunya, the dunya chased behind them. We would have known by now that they didn't chase the dunya was a beggar at their feet. The dunya was a beggar at their feet. What was the reason for that? What was the reason for that? What was the reason for that? Tawakkal. True faith and trust in the Creator Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah is the provider. The quicker and the sooner you and I put this in our minds and our hearts, that Wallahu khairul raziqeen, the faster we will come out of this chase. We will do what we need to do, but we won't chase to the extent that you forget that there are 5 namaz in a day. Doesn't sound nice what I'm saying. Some people don't like it. Go out and say, Maulana, I don't know. I don't care. Because I'm not telling you. Honestly, I'm not telling you. I'm telling myself. You overhearing me. We should talk to ourselves first. We are so busy in life that because you have a business meeting and that is going to give you 10,000 to 20,000 rands, at that time you will miss your Salatul Zuhr or Salatul Asr. We'll do it. I will read it later on. First put your head in the court of him who is going to give you that. Otherwise that 20 and that 50 and the 100 and the 6-digit figures will come into your hand. But the pauper, the man who has nothing but he has the dhikr of Allah in his heart, he will be more valuable than you. Your million will have no barakat. What is the reason for this? Because we stopped making sabr and we stopped having trust. This is what causes all our problems, all this depression and all this bimari and all this stress. From all the people in the masjid now, if I go into the small room there or in one corner here, and I'll tell them I'm going to sit there for 5 hours, whoever wants come for tawiz. As many people don't come for namaz, so many people will be there for tawiz. Sahi ke ghalat? And I'll do it for free. Alhamdulillah, I don't write tawiz as a profession. It is not my profession. But when somebody comes to me and they need it, I'll do it. But alhamdulillah, Fakir doesn't take 2 cents from anybody for this. You can ask anybody. Right? For the work of deen, I don't take 2 cents from anybody. But the point that I want to make, I'm not saying this for myself. May Allah give us barakat in what we do. But if I had to go and sit there now and say after Jumu'ah or after Asr, Maulana will be sitting here for 2 hours after Asr writing tawiz for all those who got depression and all those who got this and that. Let me tell you, there will be more crowd inside there than there will be for the Asr Jamaat. But that tawiz is not going to help you till you don't stand in the court of Allah. I can take the whole Majmu'ah Amal-e-Raza and put it in your neck. It will do nothing till you put your head in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then everything is going to work. Then everything is going to work. Where is the trust? People come to me, they say, Maulana, I got one problem. Can you give me this tawiz? I say, okay, I'll write it for you. Give me one wazifa. Write the tawiz, give the wazifa. 1 week later, say, can I come and see you a week later? I get happy when less people come to me for this. But when they really need to come, somebody is sick, some really taklif, then we are there for that. But people come, Maulana, I got problem with my mother-in-law. Say, Allah make dua bhai, sab theek ho jaye. What are you coming to me for these things? कोई किसी को अपनी बीवी के साथ प्रॉब्लम नहीं, अपनी माँ के साथ प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा, उसके लिए तावीज़ चाहिए. Okay, I'm being very open about this. But my point is, people come, you give them the wazifa, you give them a tawiz. It's fine, it's good, we should do it when they need it. Come back after 1 week, say, Maulana, it's not, things are not going the way I wanted. I said, this whole week, how many days you woke up for Fajr namaz? Hey, Maulana, there's one big problem I'm having. I can't wake up. And you want the taweez to work. And you want the wazifa to work. Leave all those other things. First, do your farz, Baba. Pehle apne faraiz anjam do. This is where our problem is, ne? This is where the big problem is. Then we crying about everything. Yes, some things Allah tests us. Sometimes you go through difficulty because Allah tests you. Alhamdulillah. But most of the problems that we're going to today in our life, let's be honest, is our own doing. Is our own doing. We are not getting up and standing on the musalla. We are not sitting even 10 minutes in a day to count. You can't say, Maulana, I can't find a tasbih. The best tasbih are your fingers. I can't find the tasbih. I can't find the counter. That's why I didn't read the Darud Sharif today. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. How many times in a day do we sit and read the Darud Sharif? We've been discussing over the last 2 weeks, Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. That in the remembrance of Allah is this tranquility to your heart. It is the cure for your depression. It is the cure for all our problems. Yes, do dua and do dawa also. You can't, it's both ways. But the point is, it is the base for everything. In this 1 week or in this 2 weeks that we talked about, I don't want you to answer to me. You answer yourself. I've been going on this for 2 to 3 weeks. For the last 2-3 weeks, how many of you sincerely, not when you came to Masjid for Thursday for zikr, or you went to any khanka for zikr, or you sat, how many of you, except your 5 times in a day, sat down for 10 minutes and made zikrullah? Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself the question. What is happening? How many times in these 3 weeks that I've been discussing this topic, I'm not talking about 1 year now. I'm talking to myself and you. In these 3 weeks, how many times did you sit on the musalla and think, why am I depressed? How many people are depressed because they got qaza namaz? That is why you should be depressed. How many people are depressed because they didn't pay their zakat, because they want to hide their money? People are not depressed because of that. They're depressed because they didn't pay SARS. Come on. They're depressed because at the end of the month, they're not going to make 100,000, they're going to make 91,000. They're depressed because they're thinking, how am I going to tell my wife, my mother, that Ma, my wife doesn't want me to come home. Tell me, Maulana, you're talking nonsense. What are we depressed about? Our depression is financial. Our depression is our homes. Our depression is not our deen. It is not because of one day I'm going to die and I'm going to face Allah and I'm going to answer for my entire life's deeds. Are you depressed because of that? Are we sad because of that? This is why we should be crying. This is why we should be having sleepless nights. No matter what our condition is, my beloveds, Allah has given you at least 1 meal in a day. I don't think in this masjid there would have been 1 or 2 people even that goes to sleep without a meal in the day. Kuch to khaye hoge. Wallahu khairur razikin. Kuch to khaye hoge. With all the bimari, we all sick. Somebody has diabetes, somebody has hypertension, somebody has, everybody has it. Ye to hona hai. It's life by machine. Any machine you take in the dunya, and the machine is supposed to run 5 hours. Simple example. Machine is supposed to run 5 hours. You're running the machine 25 hours. Machine to kharab hoga. This body has been made for a certain thing. You pushing it because you're chasing the dunya. Kuch to hoga. Some reaction is going to happen. So we expect this. It's human nature. We will become ill. We get so stressed, myself included. Doctor tells me, heart got this problem or this got... Ya Allah, what I must do to bring my diabetes down? I'm telling you about myself. What I must do to make sure my BP comes right. What I'm going to do, if it doesn't happen, how I'm going to do this or how I'm going to do that. How many times are we thinking, what am I going to do when I enter my qabr and Munkar and Nakir come? Who's thinking about this? So we get everything. We are not short of anything. No matter how poverty stricken we may be in this zamana, we are still okay. Sar ke upar ek chhat hai na? There is a roof over your head, whether it's a shack or not. You have something to eat, even if it's a few grains. Sahaba Ikram came in the court of the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Hazrat Masruq radiyallahu an says that he went in the court of Sayyidatuna Aisha as-Siddiqa radiyallahu ta'ala, the beloved wife of Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know what she says? Hazrat Masruq radiyallahu anh says, I used to go to her a lot and she used to tell me hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Hazrat Masruq radiyallahu anh says that once he went to Sayyidatuna Aisha as-Siddiqa radiyallahu anh, and she arranged or she ordered for some food to be given to me to eat. And when the food was brought, when she presented the food towards me, or she had the food sent to me, from the side I could see that she was weeping. Sayyida Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu anha was crying. Hazrat Masruq says, I asked her, Oh Mu'mineen, oh mother of the believers, why are you crying? Oh, the beloved of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know how beloved Sayyidatuna Aisha is to Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam? While Huzur sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to be resting on her lap, Wahi used to descend. How beloved she is. And when our beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam journeyed from this dunya, how many of us know? How many of you know what happened? We know everything else. Why don't we pay attention to the seerah of our Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam? This is that same Sayyidatuna Aisha that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam left this world. How Sayyidatuna Aisha says that I was holding the beloved Nabi in my hand between my chin and my chest, and the ruh of Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam left this dunya. How beloved he was to her. How beloved she was to him. There is a food that was famous amongst the Arabs. Food for thought, because I've touched the name of Sayyidatuna Aisha. There is a food that was famous amongst the Arabs still today. It's called thareed. Thareed is a kind of a curry that's a mutton stew. It's cooked and then the roti bread is broken and put in the bottom, and then the stew is put on top, the curry is put on top, and you mix it and eat. If you ever do that in your house, it is the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I don't know if you see sometimes the elders, I know my father used to do sometimes, put bread in the bottom, upar dal dal kuch dal khai. We don't realize, but this is the way that the beloved Nabi used to eat. So Rasul Pak used to love this food. He likes thareed. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, like thareed is amongst all the foods, like that Aisha is amongst all the women. Like that Aisha is amongst all the women, radiyallahu ta'ala anha. So Hazrat Masruq radiyallahu anha, he says that I went and she presented the food, but she was crying. She was crying. And I said, Oh Ummul Mu'mineen, why are you crying? Oh mother of the Ummah, why are you weeping? And she said, I look at this food and I remember that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam never ate a full stomach of barley bread in his life. Jao ki roti pet bhar ke kabhi Aqa ne nahi khaya. Meat and curry or bread, the beloved Nabi never ate a full stomach. There were days that for 2 to 3 days in a row, the furnace would not burn in the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sabr seekna ho, who better to learn from than from the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives us what we have today. Wallahu yu'ti wa innama ana qasimun. Allah is the giver and Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the distributor of everything. Everything flowed under the sacred feet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam lived this life of simplicity. Why? Because the Nabi was content. There was nobody more content than Rasul Pak. There was nobody more content than Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nobody. was more content than Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But look at Sayyidatuna Aisha, she's looking at food and she's weeping. Huzur ki yaad aa rahi. Today there are people, many of us, would not have had the houses that we have or the cars that we have or the finance that we have today. We would have started from scratch. Not everybody started in the lap of luxury. But when you sit and you eat, do you ever think of the day when you had to think where my next slice would come from? Or have you forgotten? That is why you look down on those that do not have. That is why you treat your staff like they are ordinary peasants and nothing. Is this what Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught? Is this what Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us? In this 2 or 3 weeks when we have been talking about this discussion for today is very lengthy, and I'm going to stop it immediately after this. And inshallah Allah willing, I'll continue it next week. There's one hadith I wanted to narrate to you, but the hadith is very lengthy. So I will leave it for next week, inshallah lazim. But for you to understand, in this last 2-3 weeks, I'm not saying that Maulana says we must listen. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I regard myself as the weakest of Allah's servants, the dust under the feet of the awliya Allah. Nothing else. Okay? But I'm saying these things, and I stand here and deliver lectures on Jumu'ah, not because I want you to come outside and pat my back and say, Maulana, very good lecture. No. I want it to make some asar on your heart. If it makes asar on one person's heart, it can be that one person's change can be my zariya and najat in the akhirat. That's why I'm doing this. Okay? That's why I'm doing this. Otherwise, I prefer to sit and listen to somebody else. But something to think about in this last 2 or 3 weeks that we've been talking about. One, the dhikr of Allah. How many of us have sincerely sat and made some dhikr? And how many of us in this last 2 or 3 weeks sat down, thought about our lives, thought about our qabr and dropped one tear at least? Aisha Siddiqa is weeping. My Nabi used to weep in the fear of Allah. Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you stand and you make ibadat for so long. Nabi used to stand in ibadat for so long at night that the sacred feet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would swell, and the vessels would break at times, and blood from the inside would flow and come to the top and clot, because he stood for so long. And he would weep. And it is mentioned when he would read his salah at night, when he would perform his salah at night and read the Quran, then the sobbing sound that would come from the Jism Mubarak of Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam was like a pot that was boiling. Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked by the Sahaba Ikram, Ya Rasulullah, Fidaka Abi wa Ummi. Oh beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may our parents be sacrificed at your holy feet, Ya Rasulullah. Allah has kept you away from sins. Through you Allah forgives everybody else. Allah has given you such a great maqam. Ya Rasulullah, why do you have to put yourself through all of this? You know why he was doing this? 1, to please his Rabb, and 2, for you and I. आला हजरत अदीमुल बरकत रदियल्लाहु अन्हु क्या फरमाते हैं कि अल्लाह क्या जहन्नम, अल्लाह क्या जहन्नम अब भी न सर्द होगा। अरे रो रो के मुस्तफ़ा ने दरिया बहा दिए। Oh Allah, will the flames of Jahannam not be extinguished even now? My Nabi cried and caused seas to be flowed because of us. The Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you are a personality through whom Allah forgives all. You are the most exalted. Why do you put yourself through this? Why do you make so much of effort? Why do you strive so much? Listen to the answer of my Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when my Rabb has given me this maqam, and my Rabb has blessed me more than anybody else, then should I not strive more than anybody else in the court of my Rabb to make shukr? Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Think, my beloveds. Think, dil pe हाथ को दिल पे रख के ज़रा अपने आप से पूछो. Ask yourself. One servant of Allah, one Sufi, he says, and I'm ending, he says that I saw a man with two eyes, but one eye was shut. He could not see with that eye. And he was so content and making so much of sabr, even though he could only see with that one eye. He had become very old, he could barely see with that one eye. And I asked somebody, look at how content he is. I said, look at how content he is. The person said, do you know the history behind this? I said, no. He said, one day one of his friends who he loved very much was leaving and departing to another place and may not come back. So he went to say farewell, to bid him farewell. And as his friend was leaving, tears began to flow from his eyes because of the gham of his friend. His eyes began to weep because of the person going away, because he loved him so much. He loved him so much, he began to weep. But at that time, only one eye teared, the other eye did not tear. Only one eye wept, the other eye did not weep. So the person said to himself, and he looked at himself and he touched his eye and he said that, oh, the eye that didn't weep, how dare you not weep in the love of somebody that I care for? How could you not weep? You are so weak that you do not have that love that you cannot weep, that you are not able to weep for somebody that I love so dearly and who is leaving me. I give you my word that from today I will not use you again as long as I am on this dunya. And he shut that eye and he never looked with it for 60 years. Do you know why this waqia is mentioned by Imam Al-Qadiri radiallahu ta'ala an? Do you know why he mentions this waqia? So that a person may think that for the dosti of the dunya, one eye didn't weep, a Sufi closed it for 60 years. What about that eye that doesn't weep in the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? सोचो तो ज़रा, फिर कहते हैं हम डिप्रेस्ड हैं, फिर कहते हैं हम परेशान हैं. क्यों रज़ा आज गली सुनी है? क्यों रज़ा आज गली सुनी है? उठ मेरे धूम मचाने वाले. वमा अलैना इल्लल बलाग. अल्लाह ताला